This year, 2024, DUNU is celebrating 22 years in existence. They have been very successful, especially in the last 3 years, releasing so many highly successful and popular IEM. This year, one of the latest offering is this Falcon Ultra. Okay, priced at 239 US dollar. You can get this Falcon Ultra from Linsoul Audio, as you can see here online. And if you are based in Malaysia like me, you can also get this Falcon Ultra ready stock from Red Ape Audio, as you can see here, already quite popular. And what you're gonna get inside this box, the IEM itself, of course, here. Mine is a titanium edition, you would notice here, because the one that you would typically see, normally see, would be the blue color, okay? It also comes with this nice looking carrying case. And the most interesting part, you be offer 4 different type of silicone tips, you would notice here. So let me just show you here. So we have here special kind of silicone tips, which seems to me like a tall and wide bore. And we also have this narrow bore, which indicate that this is probably suitable for lower frequency. And this is a medium bore and also some sort of a hard type medium bore. And on top of it, it also have this very special thing, which is a tuning nozzle. You are given 2 type of tuning nozzle, okay? And I will talk a bit more on it after this. And this detachable modular cable, which is L-shaped, very easy to detach, okay, like this. Kind of a bit, tight, but once you got it off and you can attach it, very simple. So you're gonna get 3.5 mm single-ended and also 4.4 mm balance. And last but not least, it also comes with this additional thing, just in case you need to change the nozzle gasket. And this 6.3 mm adapter to connect to bigger DAC amp, and also cleaning brush. And this cute looking bag here to carry your IEM, to store it, because this thing is very shiny. And again, because it is very shiny, you are also given this cleaning cloth. Very thoughtful of DUNU. You would see here, this Falcon Ultra is constructed entirely of steel, okay? No joke. This is one of the few IEM which is made of steel, running on MMCX detachable. And wearing it, despite being made of steel, it is surprisingly very ergonomically well designed, I would say. And wearing it like this, and like this, super comfortable. Okay, despite being steel, despite kind of a bit heavier, on the heavier side, I was able to wear this Falcon Ultra for in excess of 3 hours, okay, without any hint of fatigue, without any hint of discomfort. And you would notice also at the back here, there's 2 vent, which is the air vent itself, to allow, as part of the sound tuning. The good thing about this Falcon Ultra is that despite having this kind of a semi-open kind of design, it does provide good seal against the ambient noise. So this is definitely a very well designed IEM. So inside, what you're gonna find, the driver itself is a 2nd generation Eclipse 2 dynamic driver, which is unique to DUNU, size at 10.7 mm, as you can see here. And what I do know about this dynamic driver is that it's kind of a bit special. It is non-polymer, almost constructed entirely of metal. And the impedance rating is rated kind of very sensible at 16 ohm with 108 dB of sensitivity. So it means that this Falcon Ultra is super easy to drive. Driving this Falcon Ultra is a straightforward and simple affair because it offers 16 ohm of impedance with high sensitivity. I was already able to use it properly with my Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV here, which is not very powerful, but I get the best output from different type of sources which I have here. Especially, I spend quite a lot of time using it with this Moondrop Miat 01 here, okay? And also this, my favorite dongle here, which is EPZ TP50, 4.4 mm balance. And I use it on 3.5 mm single-ended with my Hebe FC6 here, my favorite as well. And also this FEO KA17, all right? And also this FEO Q15 here. Okay, so let me just put it this way. Being super versatile, adaptable, this Falcon Ultra sounded different depending on which source you attach it to. It is not about power, but it is more about tuning. For example, if I were to use it with this LG V50 here, which is very popular, running on ESS Sabre, the sound would be very analytical, detailed, crisp, with the overall sound itself, it is largely technical rather than musical. But I do get a bit more of better balance when I use this Moondrop Miat 01 and also this EPZ TP50 and this Hebe FC6. Hebe FC6 and Q15 here offering the most organic sound, natural, proper balance between being analytical and being musical, and of course, being the most dynamic and most energetic when attached to this KA17 here. So depending on which source you attach it to, it will determine the final output. And then this tuning nozzle, which I have mentioned earlier. If you look closely on the tuning nozzle itself, there's two types of density being offered. Because if you put it against the light like this, you would notice that the first nozzle, the one that comes attached to this Falcon Ultra, would be, offering some sort of dampening, acoustic dampening by means of this foam tip here, which is inserted into the cavity itself. And the other one, which is being used on my Falcon Ultra right now, is just with the mesh. So with the existence of acoustic dampening there, of course, you can expect different kind of sound. So to just clarify, to make it simple, if you prefer a bit more of higher frequency, upper frequency presentation, a bit more of detail in the upper frequency, and a bit more of openness to the sound itself with soundstage and everything, you would probably want to use the one without the dampening mesh. But if you need something which is a bit warmer sounding, a bit more organic, a bit more musical, and a bit more of emphasis on the lower frequency, then you would want to use the other nozzle, which is the one with the thick foam inserted into the cavity itself. In general, I would classify this Falcon Ultra as being highly analytical and resolving type of IEM, especially if you use it with this LG V50 here, or even something like this FEO KA17. And a bit more of balance when it comes to attached to this Miat 01 or these favorite dongles of mine, which I already mentioned earlier, or even this Q15. So what it says is that this Falcon Ultra is super versatile, depending on your mood, whether it could be like, you are in the mood of being analytical or you are in the mood of being musical. You can just simply switch, first, the tuning nozzle itself, which I already mentioned earlier, and also the type of source you attach it to. It is definitely an IEM which also I consider as very well balanced with the tuning itself throughout the entire frequency range, all the way from the upper frequency, mid-range to the lower frequency, with a mild hint of boosting in the lower frequency in a good way. So we are talking about transparent and linear neutral upper frequency, the treble region, and transparent and linear presentation with the mid-range itself, no coloration there, no hint of warming or no hint of, let's say, drying or anything like that, and a bit of boosting in the lower frequency. It's very well balanced between the mid-bass and the sub-bass. So let's just have a look at the upper frequency itself. If you choose to use the nozzle with the most dampening, then I would just simply say that I can hear that it is kind of a bit roll-off with the extension itself. It does not extend as far as I would consider as being analytical. I do hear still some sparkle, some energy, and proper representation of macro detail, but not so much on the micro detail. But in case, if you need to turn that around so that your Falcon Ultra going to be a bit more analytical with the upper frequency, then you just simply switch to the nozzle with the least dampening, And that is where you're going to hear a bit more of sparkle, energy, and even the air itself improve. The sense of openness to the sound in the upper frequency will improve the sense of the overall sound stage, And the treble itself, it is fast, tidy, never offensive. There's no hint of pinna glare all the way from the upper mid-range to the treble region, to the highest upper region of the treble extension. So definitely a huge plus there, And when we talk about the mid-range itself, this is definitely transparent sounding, especially when used with the nozzle with the least amount of dampening. So when I say transparency, I am, classifying as being accurate. When I listen to different type of male and female vocal, I expect to hear the kind of sound which is, truthful to the intended presentation. So which means that somebody like Diana Krall, I would hear her vocal singing as being transparent. There's no hint of warming there. There's no hint of drying or anything like that. It is as how it was supposed to be. And same goes with male vocal, regardless whether baritone, tenor, or anything in between. And when it comes to the instrument, you can be rest assured that the attack It's very solid, okay? Never offensive. It is definitely accurate to the intended tone, especially when we talk about subjected against something like classical music again and technical jazz, which I normally use to test equipment. I am hearing very accurate sound presentation, which is clean and tidy. And we talk about lower frequency. DUNU Falcon Ultra is definitely one of those IM which I would consider as very well tuned when it presents the lower frequency. There's no bias emphasis either on the mid bass or the sub bass. Both are equally presented. And when I say equally presented, you can hear the impact, the slam, the rumble, and the dominance of the mid bass, okay? But yet, the sub bass itself, when it appears, okay, the decay state of the sub bass is definitely smooth, okay? It extends really deep, especially if you use the nozzle, which is the one that contains the highest dampening, okay? So if you love bass, most likely you would want to use this Falcon Ultra with narrow bore tips and also the nozzle which has this, form inserted into it. So you're gonna get a bit more of, presence of the lower frequency. It is fast, it is tidy, it is accurate, the texture and the definition itself is very clean. So if you love mid bass especially, and you want a bit more of sub bass, kind of a bit, harmonious sort of sound presentation, then Falcon Ultra has it. On top of being highly analytical and resolving, this Falcon Ultra is definitely wide and open sounding, especially if you use wide bore tips, okay, like this one, and also the nozzle which has the least dampening, and the kind of sound which you're gonna get is wide and open and also tall. But I must admit that when it comes to spatial imaging or spatial presentation, it is less holographic. It is more towards traditional type of stereo, which is kind of expected of a single dynamic driver. So it is suitable for music in general, but not suitable for gaming or even binaural type of music. With a total score of 87 out of 100, this Falcon Ultra is undoubtedly one very versatile, highly tunable, highly adaptable, and highly likable IEM, okay? Especially considering that if you were to compare it directly with some of the competition here, especially Moondrop, Blessing 3, both of them are highly technical. But I would just even say that, when it comes to being musical, this is more versatile. It is a lot better, a lot easier to get musical element out of this Falcon Ultra as opposed to B3, which I regard as being focusedly heavily on being technical rather than musical. And if you compare it with some of the upper tier competition, even with IO Volare, which I have reviewed recently, and even Tanjim Origin, I must admit that, there's a bit more of refinement offered by Tanjim Origin and Volare when it comes to timbre, because this is one area which I think that this Falcon Ultra could have done better, because if you were to compare them directly, then you would hear that those Tanjim Origin and IO Volare would offer similar kind of sound timbre which is closer to Sennheiser HD600. So that's pretty much the only cons which I would like to highlight on this Falcon Ultra. Otherwise, everything considered, everything, taken into consideration, this is definitely one of the IM which I would be happy to recommend to anyone.